Welcome back and thank you for joining me, devs. We're going to do something a little more fun this time. We are going to create a new power-up. Let's go to create sprite, S, homing power-up. That's right, we're going to do homing missiles. It's going to be really fun too. I love this one. So let's create a real quick icon, just a little power-up, so that we can get the actual thing. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. I've kind of thought this one not by a lot. Want a big old H on there, so that we know that's not going to be the spread gun. It's going to be the homing missiles. There we go. Just kind of get like a little block, a little ornate H on there. Looks kind of neat. Either way, it's just for fun. It's just so we know that that's going to be our homing missile. Let's go into player and hit create sprite. Call this S missile. Edit image. So, as with all sprite art, all you need is an interesting silhouette. Let's just go ahead and start right there. And we are going to color this gray, this like top rightmost gray color. Not too dark, not too light. Add a little bit of reflection there and on the outer edges. And let's get a darker gray, a little darker. That is going to be the fin that's kind of like facing towards you. Go just like that. You could even go like a darker one. There we go. It gives us quite a bit of depth for what it is. And then let's give it a little afterburner so we know that it's blazing along. And if you click on those, you can get a more specific color, but we're just going to stick with what we got. Copy and paste that. And then we'll add a white trail set. You can see that it's kind of humming along. There we go. All right. Now this thing can fly. So, in the interest of being efficient, let's duplicate our spread icon. We're going to choose the homing icon and call it O homing power up. Actually, we'll just call it O homing, because the O spread will follow the convention we have here. But when we were colliding with the player, we want to change this bullet type to homing, quotes. Boom, that's done. How efficient was that? Now, we'll go to the spawner, go to alarm 1, and where we normally would create our power-ups, let's add O homing to it. So now we have a chance of picking that up, and then hit create object, O missile. Let's assign that sprite, player, missile, and go to the step event. This is where things get fun. Whoops, sorry. Kind of all over the place here. Make some room. First, we need to say image angle equals direction. As you know, direction is on a 360-degree plane in a circle, basically. What degrees, which direction is it pointing at? If your direction is 0, it's going to be facing right, 90's up, 180's left, 270 is down, and everything in between. Image angle is what angle your sprite is facing. What direction is it facing? It defaults at 0, which is right. So if we say image angle equals direction, then our sprite will face the direction that it's moving. So it can snake around and it'll be facing it the entire time. It'll be facing up if it's moving up. If you don't say this, then the missile can fly around all over the stage just fine. It'll just always be facing to the right, and that just looks silly. So we've got some variables we have to create. Let's go var dir excel ex ey enemy and max speed. So we need to see what all these are. Enemy is going to equal O enemy. Excel is going to equal 0.5. Max speed equals 6. We say if instance exists, enemy, that's our variable. So this is the condition. If the enemy has to exist, and this is going to be our statement. This is what happens. Ex equals instance nearest x, y, enemy, close parentheses dot x, ey equals instance nearest x, y, enemy, close parentheses dot y. Dir equals point direction x, y, ex, ey, close parentheses. Okay, so let's go over these real quick. Instance nearest is going to find the instance that is nearest to us. Pretty simple. You look for the x and the y position of this object, which is going to be our enemy. And then we're going to get its x coordinate and put it in the ex variable. Then we're going to do the same thing for y. What is the x and y of the enemy dot y? And assign that to the ey. And we're going to say direction equals point direction, which points us in the direction of something we're looking for. It has a starting x value and a starting y value, which is basically your coordinates, your x and y coordinates, and then the x and y coordinates of the enemy, ex and ey. So now this shows us what enemy is closest to us. Then we need to move towards that enemy. So we're going to say motion add. You could say move, actually I'll get to it later. Motion add has a direction, which we're going to apply as dir, and then excel. So point direction, this is the closest enemy nearby. This is the pointing at the direction of the closest enemy. That's the direction that we want to go, and we want to move at the acceleration pace, which is 0.5 pixels per step. So within just a few steps, we've already hit our max speed. Now we need to say if speed less than max speed. Actually, you know what? We'll just do this the easy way. Speed is greater than or equal to max speed. Speed equals max speed. Nice and simple. Then we're going to go down here and say if distance to object we're looking for is enemy, is less than 15 pixels, we're going to move towards point. Ex, ey, speed. So what does this stuff mean? Motion add, we're going towards the direction at the speed of acceleration. We're going to add 0.5 pixels to speed every step until we hit a max speed of 6, in which case our speed will max out at max speed, because if it exceeds max speed, it is assigned max speed. Then we're going to say actually, you know what? Leave this out real quick. Just going to take this out real quick and show you what I mean. Say we have to add this to our script real quick. So bullet, close that region. Oh, well, you can copy this down. I apparently did this for a practice run and forgot to delete it. So say region homing, hashtag region homing, case homing, and remember to use a semicolon instead of, or a colon instead of the semicolon like you normally would. And then say instance create layer XY bullets, put this on the bullets layer, O missile, and then in that region. So let's just go in our room. We don't want to wait for the thing to give it to us. So we're just going to add it there and see what happens. See, they were waiting for an enemy to show up. And you see how they kind of snake around it sometimes. Like that, right there. They sometimes will miss. And you'll just get this kind of perfect storm where they spiral around a bad guy without ever hitting it. And right now there's no collision to it, so it won't hit anyway. But yeah, sometimes you'll just get this situation where they spin around. So what we need to do is say missiles need to, if they go outside the room, instance, destroy. Collision with enemies needs to be with other. Open up bullet. We'll copy and paste this. Ideally, you want to have a bullet parent, which we can go over later. That makes things a little easier, but this is going to be... Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's just do this. Let's go to O missile, go to parent, and choose O bullet. So all of a sudden now it's got all the same things as the parent. It's got to create. We'll just override this because we don't need it. Step, it's already got its own step event. And there's the collision. And it already has the variable for damage. We don't need physics open. I opened that on accident. Not doing any physics with these. So let's see if that works. I know this is running a little long. I apologize and I appreciate your patience. See, now they're hitting them. But every once in a while you get some kind of swirl. See if we can... Yeah, see, sometimes they'll spin around and you might end up not hitting the bad guys for a while. So we don't want that. We want our missiles to really home in on it. So I'm going to add that back. Whoops. I'm going to add this back. So it's going to say if distance to object enemy less than 15 pixels. Fits within 15 pixels of the enemy. Move towards point. That point is EX, EY, and speed. Which means if it gets within 15 pixels of an enemy, it'll stop adding motion and it will just zip straight down into that enemy. That's the enemy's X and Y, and it's going to do it at speed. Then we also need to say, you know, if there's not an enemy on screen, they just kind of sit there and hover. So we need to say else. So all this code is dependent on the enemy existing. So what do we do if the enemy doesn't exist? We're just going to say direction equals 0. Speed plus equals Excel. Actually, I could go back and say if speed is greater than max speed, it equals max speed. But what I'm going to do is add, I'm going to say if speed less than max speed. And I'm going to make that the condition and this the statement. So earlier I said if speed is less than or equal to, is greater than or equal to max speed, then it's going to equal max speed. It's going to keep growing until it gets past it, and then it's going to be assigned that number. This is just going to say only add acceleration to the speed if speed is less than max speed. Let's give that another shot. Now they just shoot and they instantly home towards the bad guys. You got, they still fire at a very fast rate, so what's kind of funny is if I don't turn, I'll just show you something kind of fun and then we'll be done with this. Let's comment this out. Check it out. This is just kind of silly. So now if I shoot and there's no enemies on screen, check it out. There's like a horde of them. There's like an army of them that have just been waiting off screen, just flying forever. And they turn back around once an enemy shows up. They just zip off to the right until an enemy shows up, and then they come back with a vengeance. So that's kind of fun. That's kind of fun. But it's cheap. We don't want that. We want to, once they go off the screen, they're done. They're done for. Alright, that's it for this lesson. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had fun with it. I'll see you next time.